What's going down, everybody? Welcome back to another brand new interview right here on Cassius Morris Official. Real quick before we hop into today's show, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button down below if you enjoy the free content I'm releasing almost every single day. Also, make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video, and smash that like button down below to support the content I'm releasing. Also, to support the channel, feel free to click that join button down below to become an official channel member for access to exclusive content, perks, emojis, and much, much more. Today on the channel, it is an absolute honor to have a conversation with the guitar god of Kiss, Ace Frehley. Ace Frehley is releasing his brand new record, 10,000 Volts, on February 23rd, and I encourage everybody to go and check it out. Like I talked about in this interview with Ace, he seems beyond energized. He seems happy. He seems like he's in a great place creatively, and ultimately that's all we can hope for. You know, I love to see the guys who we all grew up on finding themselves and continuing to sort of push that needle and push the rock and roll game forward. So it's incredible to see what Ace is doing. I really appreciate him taking some time. And, you know, honestly, I feel like I have to throw this in there too. This has been a childhood dream for me. I may be a younger guy, but just like you guys, I grew up on Kiss. So this is an incredible moment. I appreciate it, and I'm very happy to bring it to you. So without further ado, enjoy my conversation with Ace Frehley.
What's happening, Ace?
What's happening?
Not too much, man. Hey, you look great. Thank you so much for making some time today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Awesome, man. Hey, listen, I've been watching the latest video for Walking on the Moon. I gotta say, man, this video is so much fun. I'm a huge fan of the video and the track. Maybe talk to us a little bit about the process for this latest single.
I had no idea what it was going to look like because I did it behind a green screen. So all those graphics and, all the stuff in the background and the UFO, I had no idea. It was just something that we discussed. I got two people dress up as aliens, and it worked out.
Seriously, it was such
I give
a cool
a lot
concept.
of credit to the engineers and the computer graphic artists who came up with all that stuff.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you seem really energized, Ace, for this new project, and it seems like you have an incredible team of people around you. I mean, maybe speak to us about that.
Well, I try to surround myself with creative, sober people who I trust and are fun to work with.
For sure.
That's pretty much, the formula that I live by. I'm 17 years sober, so I don't hang around people who do drugs or drink, and I just keep it simple.
You've had such a long career, Ace, and it's truly obviously a blessing in this business, of course, to have a career of this length. Talk to me about continuing to keep it fresh after being in the game for so long. Is it hard to come up with original riffs and, concepts when you've done all these songs?
For some reason, it's not that difficult for me, and I don't know why. I've probably been quoted this many times, but a lot of times, like when I'm writing lyrics, I feel like they're being beamed into my head, like from an alien or something. Sometimes I write and I can't even write them fast enough. I just keep getting these ideas, and when it comes to guitar riffs and stuff, I just like empty out my head and play guitar stuff, and I'll play something and I'll go, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And just develop it. I've been doing this for so long. It's not that difficult for me anymore. After I don't know how many records I've recorded on, maybe 25 or something.
Of course. Yeah, it's just second nature to you. So, I mean, when you first started, if we take it back, did you see yourself doing this for the rest of your life? Or, did you not picture yourself still being a rock star at this stage in your life? Because it's incredible.
Once I became famous with Kiss, I pretty much knew that. Well, once I had the hit album with New York Groove, and I realized I was more productive and more innovative without those guys being around me, because sometimes they'd stifle my creativity. Uh, Once I knew I could do it on my own, I realized, there was no stopping me. And, you know, that was the kind of the writing on the wall for me when I had the success of my first solo record. And then I left the group in 82 because I wasn't happy with the direction.
Yeah.
I didn't like doing, I was made for loving you. I didn't think we should be doing disco rock songs. And it was a slow process. But, after The Elder, that was the icing on the cake, because from day one, I kept telling Bob Ezra and Paul and Gene, this album is the songs aren't bad, but, the fans aren't going to buy it. And they just kept saying, hey, all right, you're entitled to your opinion, but, we're overruling you. I said, okay.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned I Was Made for Loving You. Were you surprised at how big of a hit that song ended up being?
Not really, because it was the disco era,
Right.
and it's not a bad song. My arm, I used to play through the whole song. My wrist would sometimes lock up.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I hated playing it, and I wasn't a huge fan of disco music. I mean, the only time I danced disco music when I was in Studio 54. I've had a bottle of champagne. You dance to anything, but it wasn't my bag. I've always been tried to be true to my roots. I'm a blues-based rock guitarist. I learned from the masters: Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, Pete Townsend, the Kinks. The whole English invasion happened when I was like 14, 15, 16, and it changed my life.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You spoke on, obviously, in interviews in the past, how you really wanted this record to sort of stick it to Gene and Paul and really show them that you still got it better than ever. Do you feel like that was good for your creative process in this album and keeping you so energized?
Well, the same thing happened during my 1978 solo album, because prior to going off and recording records on our own, which is what everybody did, Paul, Gene, Peter, they all went off on their own. And Gene and Paul were hinting, "Hey, Ace, if you need help, we're here." And in my mind, I'm saying, I don't need your help. You're gonna
Exactly.
need mine. And but it gave me the drive to strive for strong, melodic, interesting songs. And pretty much, I was very close with Eddie Kramer. And it was just me and Eddie Kramer and Anton Fig on that whole record, except for Will Lee played bass on a few tracks. And we got some chicks to sing on New York Groove. And that album still holds up today. So,
Oh my gosh. I mean, even as a guy from the newer generation, I mean, it sounds like it was recorded yesterday, and I'm not just saying that. Is it curious to you, Ace, that your career has, at this point outlasted Gene and Paul and even Kiss itself? How does that feel to you to think about that?
well, getting sober was probably one of the major stepping stones for me to, you know, keep myself going. I'm much healthier now than I was 10, 15 years ago. Uh, but, Paul and Gene over the years have always kind of dragged my name through the mud, you know, to try to validate the fact that they had Tommy Thayer in the band. They used to make statements. You can look them up in videos. There's dozens of them where they say, "Oh, Ace wasn't up for the job. Ace was unemployable. He was always late." You know, and that got to me, and to this day, it still bothers me, but it doesn't hold water.
Not at all.
I mean, I made the statement before this record even started. I said, this album's going to embarrass them because they can't do a record this good. I dare them to.
Of course, and it's been 20 years since they even stepped into a studio, so it's very different, right?
I don't know what was the last record they did?
Monster, and then Sonic Boom before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting to see. Ace, one of the coolest things about you is that, you've been so resourceful throughout your career. I think a lot of people don't realize you actually were the one who created your smoking guitar effect. You were the mastermind behind the Rockets. Can you speak to us a little bit about creating those effects and the trial and error? Because I can't imagine it was, super easy.
Well, you have to realize, when Kiss first went out, we were always trying to top the previous tour with special effects, flying up in the air. So, the same process was going on in my head when it came to my guitar. I first came up with the idea to do the smoking guitar on our very first tour. And I put smoke bombs inside the little compartment in a Les Paul, and I used to light it with a cigarette lighter, but it ended up screwing up all the volume and tone controls. So I got together with an engineer, and he made a fake pickup, on the bridge pickup, and then it was great. I had this big box, it was they used asbestos and everything, so it wouldn't harm the wood, the heat of the bombs. And, you see some of those videos from the 70s, I'm engulfed in smoke.
Yeah.
The guitar I'm using now doesn't put out that much smoke because it's fog.
Okay.
And the reason I have to use fog is because to do something like that, you have to have a fire marshal approve it. And I got, sometimes they'd say you can't use the smoke bombs tonight because there could be a fire. So I just said, I met a guy and he said, Germany makes these little fog machines. So I ended up putting little fog machines inside the back of my guitar, and it worked. Not quite as much smoke as the original smoke bombs, but it doesn't look bad.
Looks amazing. No, it's such a cool trademark effect.
And then I had to keep coming up with new ideas. So I came up with the light guitar for New York Groove. And then I came up with the rocket guitar, and I blew up stuff in the truss rod, but that's tough to do now. With that, you need a special crew. You got to be playing arenas. I can't afford to put on an elaborate show like that at this juncture. And then I'll never forget the one of the last tours I did with Kiss. I told Gene, I said, I'm gonna put a pinwheel on the end of my guitar in Rock and Roll Night, and it's gonna spin, perpendicular to the neck. And he goes, "No way." And I remember after I worked it out with an engineer, and Gene saw it, he goes, "Hey, I'll tell you, I was wrong. You were right."
So cool. Oh my gosh. I remember that those videos too, seeing that. Last question for you, Ace. I know you mentioned Origins 3 is going to be the next project that you're doing. I think it's amazing you already have that mapped out. Are there any covers that you've selected so far for the Origins 3 record?
No.
Okay, so that's going to be coming up.
I have a short list, but I'm not giving anything away at this juncture because it's too far off.
Yes.
I usually come up with about 15 songs, that were from the late 60s, mid 60s, even early 70s. And, I start writing them down, and then eventually we end up doing only 10 or 11.
Okay.
And, but doing those Origins records is so much fun because there's not that much pressure on you because the song's already written and the lyrics are already written. All you got to do is kind of put your own stamp on it. I mean, one of my engineers said to me, he came up with this term. He goes, "You got to aceify it."
There you go. That's your only job for those records, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I can record an Origins record probably in, 6 to 8 weeks.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, we're really excited. Ace, I know we're out of time. Thank you so much for all that you do, and keep rocking, man. You're an inspiration to all of us, brother.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.